Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun. What's up, guys? Like I said, I was going to make a video on Cody Rhodes being misused in that dump of a company called AEW. You know, nobody wants to say it the other way around. It's always like, oh, WWE didn't know. They didn't know how to use Goldust. WWE didn't know how to use Big Shotty and Lee Johnson or whoever else they had back then, right? WWE just didn't know how to use anybody, right? But when the opposite happens, I don't hear one peep. I don't hear one peep. I don't hear, oh, Cody Rhodes was misused in AEW. So with that being said, what up, motherfuckers? It's your boy, the hater, up in this piece. We're going to talk about Cody Rhodes a little bit here. You know, I'm not saying I'm a fan or anything like that. I still think he sucks, but that's neither here nor there. I'm going to focus on two elements of the Cody Rhodes screw-up in AEW and why AEW is stupid and why their fans are even dumber. All right, number one, Cody Rhodes is your star guy. All right? The first main event, after Jericho becomes champion, you can have him beat whoever you want for the title. You can have him beat Adam Page, no one cares. But after Jericho becomes champion, it would be imperative to have a long Jericho versus Cody Rhodes feud that they did. But make it longer and better. These are your two stars. If anyone randomly tunes into AEW, that's what they're going to know. They're going to know Cody Rhodes, hopefully, and they're definitely going to know Jericho. Nobody gives a damn about Kenny Omega. But it's fine. You want to prioritize him. That's understandable, you know? But who decided that Kenny Omega is a bigger star than Cody? He's not. You know what I'm saying? He's not in any way, shape, or form bigger star than Cody. Why? Because people in Japan like him? And it's not even people in Japan. It's the Americans and Canadians and Europeans, maybe, that watch Japanese wrestling. Nobody in Japan gives a damn. They like Okada and Nakamura and like the other guys, you know? So, number one, he never became AEW champion. I understand that was by design, and that was to promote the mid-card division and to promote Cody Rhodes himself. So I'm not going to sit here and say Cody Rhodes didn't use a... That's part of my second point. But the facts are what the facts are, right? AEW did not make Cody Rhodes a champion. But that's whatever. Not everyone has to be a champion. More important than all that, the real problem is this. It's really quite simple, motherfucks. It's really quite simple. When the time came for Cody Rhodes to extend his contract, they didn't do everything they needed to do to keep him on board. That's a way to misuse your talent. He is their number one guy, and their number one guy left, as far as I'm concerned, if and when, probably when, AEW goes out of business in the next few years. It's going to take a while. It might take 10 years, right? But when they shut down, this will be the moment where, you know, everyone looks at and thinks, oh, Cody Rhodes leaving, that was it. That was the moment where it all turned around for AEW. Because you cannot deny that. It's just fact, you know? And on the other side of the coin, the AEW fans, who I see them like all over the internet, they're like, best of luck to Cody, you know, thanks for everything, Cody. It's like, no, hold on a second. Cody Rhodes is a rat bastard, all right? He's a rat bastard. He's getting paid a lot of money now to go to WWE and go over there and be a rat bastard over there. You know what I'm saying? He's a rat bastard. It's as simple as that. You understand me? I'll say it again. Rat bastard. He's a rat bastard, and I'll explain why. He used Tony Khan. He used the Young Bucks. He used everyone in AEW to promote himself. For 2 or 3 years, we saw Cody Rhodes promoting himself. He did the indie tour for like a year. He went to New Japan for like half a year and like did nothing really there. He was wrestling like some jabroni, like Yoshihashi or some bullshit, right? And then he started his own company. Let's be real. Cody Rhodes is the reason why the company started. If there was no Cody Rhodes, it wouldn't have started because Young Bucks and Kenny Omega were around for a long time and they didn't start anything, you know? But they started with Cody Rhodes. Cody Rhodes is the guy who's like, all right, I can do this. I'm Cody Rhodes. I can do anything I want. So he did it, right? He used the company to promote himself and he bounced. He did what Drew McIntyre did, except unlike Drew McIntyre, who just got over by the fact that he just got bigger and stronger. And then, like, he's one of those guys that when they release him, they know that there's a big possibility they might bring him back. You know, they just know because it's Drew McIntyre, right? And it's the same thing with Cody Rhodes. I'm sure he left on good terms, and they were like, all right, one day, like, Cody Rhodes is young. You know, he's still like 35, 36. He's young, so they can sign him back, right? And then, you know, we'll see. Maybe people forget. But when he asked for his release, he was like, oh, okay, like I'm gonna bounce, and they're like, all right, we're gonna bring you back one day, right? And it's as simple as that, right? Cody Rhodes could have had a job for the rest of his life and been a mid-card jobber, been like an R-Truth, but no, he bet on himself, and for that, I give him credit, you know? But what I don't give him credit for is the fact that he used the company to promote himself, and all the fans are okay with it. Every fan of AEW should hate Cody Rhodes, you know? Even if you don't hate him personally, because he's a human being, what he's supposed to do? Entertain you for less money? No. But even if you don't hate him personally, you like, how do I say this? I guess we'll call it kayfabe hate, right? When when Diesel and Razor Ramon, when they left and went to WCW, WWE fans hated them. You understand me? They hated them. They were like, how can these guys leave? The Dudley Boys, the ECW fans hated them for a while, right? They left for that big company. They would make fun of them. You know, there was like this rivalry. It was a real rivalry, and the fans had this like fake rivalry. It's like, I like these people more. People, when I was in school, people would be like, who do you think's better, Stone Cold or Goldberg? And then all the WWE fans would say Stone Cold, and all the WCW fans would say Goldberg, right? A lot of these people liked the other person more, but they liked the company. The company is what kept loyalty, right? So even if an AEW neckbeard loves Cody Rhodes, the facts are what the facts are. He betrayed your company. Where is that attitude? When Cody Rhodes was released, I remember I made a video and I looked at a bunch of online comments, and everyone was saying, well, Cody Rhodes, he's done a lot for AEW, but he doesn't deserve money like Kenny Omega. Kenny Omega, the guy who hasn't wrestled in AEW for like 6 months, he doesn't deserve money like Kenny Omega. He doesn't deserve money like Daniel Bryan and CM Punk. He deserves way more money than those jabrones. You know, Cody Rhodes actually reinvented himself. He went from like Stardust to the day. Like nobody's reinvented themselves more than Cody Rhodes. That's why I've always had a respect for him as a performer. I've always had a respect for Cody Rhodes. As a person, I think he's a piece of garbage. You know, in terms of like his wrestling career, I'm sure he's a nice guy, but he's used a bunch of people to promote himself. And out of that, we got AEW, so whatever. It's, I guess, an overall net positive. But the facts are what the facts are. He's used them. But as a performer, Cody Rhodes is one of those guys that when he was in WWE, he tried. I've said this so many times. I've been consistent on this the whole time. He tried so many times to get over. It just didn't work. He just either wasn't good enough, right? Or they put him in these storylines that like were short-lived. They were good, but they were short-lived. Like him and Goldust becoming tag team champions, you know? Things like that. But otherwise, Cody Rhodes tried. He tried so hard. The Rhodes Scholars. You know, he did the mustache as a joke, but whatever. He did the mustache, right? There was a shirt with a mustache on it, right? He did the dashing gimmick. He did the undashing gimmick, which to me is like one of the best gimmicks ever. That definitely the best one Cody Rhodes had, but one of the most clever gimmicks ever, especially for Cody Rhodes because he was like a nobody. He was like a jobber, and they gave him this like solid mid-card gimmick, you know? Then eventually he became Cody Rhodes. Like he was just Cody Rhodes, and you're like, oh my god, this is his moment. I remember at Survivor Series, when I was in law school in Jersey, I went to see Survivor Series in Madison Square Garden, and that was like when Cody Rhodes came out, not as undashing, but he just came out as Cody Rhodes, dressed in like white, and I'm like, that's it. This is the Cody Rhodes, you know? And it didn't pan out. Before you know it, he was Stardust. Nobody gave a damn, so he had to bounce. But he used the company, and nobody wants to say this. They had Cody Rhodes, who might now become WWE champion. They had that guy, and they didn't do anything with him. They were too busy pushing people like Darby Allin, who's been there for 2 years and has done nothing of value. He's just like basically like a knockoff, like a discount store, like the Marshall's version of Jeff Hardy. You know what I'm saying? The Kirkland brand of Jeff Hardy up in this piece. You know, this guy is getting all this TV time. Look at Sting. I'm not saying Sting needs to reinvent himself because he's Sting, but look at Sting. He's come there just taking a paycheck. He's actually put in work, but it's not entertaining. It's not drawing anything, right? So, with all this being said and what I said in the last video, these people need to either reinvent themselves or they need to understand that AEW is not going to make you a star. AEW will not make anyone a star because they didn't make Cody Rhodes a star. Cody Rhodes did that on his own, motherfuckers. And that's what I have to say about that. It's honestly quite simple. Cody Rhodes betrayed AEW and nobody cared. AEW misused Cody Rhodes and nobody cared. Why in the blue hell am I seeing a main event of a pay-per-view between Jon Moxley and Eddie Kingston? Why? Who wants to see this? Why didn't Cody Rhodes have a long feud with Pac? Why is Pac teaming up with Pentagon? Nobody cares about Pentagon. Make clear who your wrestlers are. Make it clear who your champions are, who your number one guys are, and treat them as such. Cody Rhodes coming out and cutting a promo after promo after promo just to boost his confidence for when it's time to go to the big leagues. And then having a pay-per-view match against David Ogogo. Was that his name even? David? Maybe I'm confused with David Otunga. Whatever, the Ogogo guy who hasn't been seen since. You know, him having a feud with David Ogogo, right? Why are you wasting Cody Rhodes with David Ogogo? Have Cody Rhodes versus Sting. Do it. Do something good. This week it's going to be Cody Rhodes versus Big Shotty Lee Johnson. I think it's going to be Cody Rhodes versus Malachi Black in the mandatory Malachi Black, you know, debut feud before he's teaming with some other guy on AEW Dark or whatever. You know? So there you go. They misused him. They misused Miro. They misused everybody except for the Elite including Adam Page. He's been well used, right? The Elite minus Cody Rhodes, of course, right? The Elite has been used correctly, or has been used well. Jericho, of course, and maybe Moxley, I guess. That's it. Daniel Bryan, CM Punk, these people are just feuding with jabrones. Like, who cares? Oh, CM Punk versus Will Hobbs. CM Punk, it should be CM Punk versus Sting. Make that happen. Why am I seeing CM Punk wrestle Will Hobbs? You want to see stars. You don't want to see a star versus some jobber that you know he's going to beat. Like, who thought that Will Hobbs was going to beat CM Punk in their match on Dynamite? No, nobody. Nobody thought that because it's stupid. Everybody knows Will Hobbs cannot beat him. You know? So there you go. Having matches that matter, that can go either way, pushes the character forward. That's how you use your stars. They did not use Cody Rhodes like that. And don't even get me started on people like Miro and these other people that have not been used at all. You know? What's the point of Buddy Murphy? You know? As a matter of fact, AEW has failed completely because AEW said they're not going to just sign old WWE guys. That's exactly what they're doing. You know? They're not going to counter-program. That's a form of counter-programming. And they also do other counter-programming. You know? People like CM Punk are using them. CM Punk is done. He's not passionate about wrestling anymore. Edge is passionate. Edge comes back. He doesn't have to. He's rich. He had an acting career. But he comes back. And what does he do when he comes back? He reinvents himself eventually. He has some of the best matches of his career. What does CM Punk do? He just talks about how he's getting old. He might win the AEW title, but who cares? It's the same boring CM Punk. The guy who I read the results of Dynamite when I was doing some video, right? And the guy who did the results did like a key points. And one of the key points was the way that CM Punk grinned when Max Caster did his rap. CM Punk's that asshole that grins in the background, and that's what he's always been. He's not entertaining, he's boring, he doesn't draw any money. Daniel Bryan is a boring jobber. Nobody wants to see this guy on TV. You know? Yeah, they want to see him more than they want to see Jimmy Havoc. Is that his name, Jimmy Havoc? The guy that, I forget his name, I think it was Jimmy Havoc. Yeah, they want to see him more than that guy. They want to see him more than Big Swole. They want to see him more than the Bunny and Butcher and Blade. But they don't really want to see him either. You know, you want to see stars and you want to see storylines. Cody Rhodes could have done both those things for AEW. However, he didn't because he was not used correctly. The last year, Cody Rhodes has been having these meaningless matches. You know, trying to put people over. Oh, it's Cody Rhodes and Brock Anderson. They're going to fight a random tag team. Who gives a damn about Brock Anderson? He's never going to make it. You know? And as I said, tomorrow, I'm going to do a video on why Gable Steveson sucks. And why Gable Steveson is never going to make it. So stay tuned for that, cuckolds.